in money. Numerous awards for Best Employment Law. A fierce advocate fighting for your legal needs.
Welcome to Legal Views with your host, Attorney Sheila R. Stuart.
Welcome to Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stuart. We are so excited. As usual, we're always excited, but we are extra excited and happy to have with us on today the one and only Dr. Gena Ross. She is a phenomenal, a trailblazer in her own right, and we're going to hear from her. She is going to talk to us and get about the current climate in the United States of America. She's also going to share some important tips from her experience as campaigning for both the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. She did a remarkable job, and we're godly proud of her. You are tuned in to Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stuart. If you want to contact us, you can contact us at law@SheilaStewart.com. Again, law@SheilaStewart.com. And Stuart is spelled Stuart. We are located at 231 South Bemiston Avenue, Clayton, Missouri, 63105. We would like for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel under Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stuart. Thank you so much for being with us, and we want you to follow us this fall. We have a great lineup of great guests that's going to come on and share some valuable information with us from the fall throughout the winter. So follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Welcome, Dr. Gena. How are you today?
Good evening, Attorney Sheila Stewart. I'm doing just great. How are you?
I am doing well. I want to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule, and you are busy, to be with us on today. Like I said, we're excited to have you. You have done you just have a tremendous body of work, and we want you to share with our audience, your wealth of information to help us go higher. You have an earned PhD. Is it in public policy and administration?
Yes, that's correct.
An earned PhD. That's not very easy to get, okay? So we celebrate you in all of your accomplishments. And where are you teaching at currently? Can you tell the audience what you're teaching?
Kansas Community College. I'm an associate professor. I teach business and American government.
Great. And as a professor, what would you tell students that's returning back to school this fall? Because, we're having these breakouts with different types of viruses. What type of advice would you give to some of our young people as they return to school this fall?
Well, I advise a lot of my students to try to work ahead because you never know what's going to happen. So I allow my students to work ahead. I also encourage them to use time management, just try to keep themselves organized. And also, if they have any issues, to communicate with me. Don't just fall off and not say anything and then come to me at the end of the semester looking for help. I'm there to help them. And I also tell them to stay safe, all the time, stay safe. Practice your CDC guidelines, whether they're in place or not. You know what you need to do. And if you're on ground with me, if you're sick, stay home.
Now, that's a really good one right there. If you are sick, stay
If you have any symptoms, you think you're sick, stay home.
Okay. Well, Professor Ross is not only an outstanding professor and an educated woman, but she is also a politician. Dr. Ross is a trailblazer and a change agent in the state of Missouri. She is the first African-American woman to run for U.S. Congress District 6, and she later made a bid to run for the U.S. Senate. Okay? And one of the things that I'm noticing, Dr. Ross, and I'd like for you to speak to this, that many women are entering politics today. And studies are even indicating that more women are waiting until they're in their 50s and late 40s to enter into politics. And then what's even more compelling is that African American women are throwing their hats in to run for office. What do you think is causing the big interest to run for office today?
Well, if you look around us and you see everything that's happening in the world, if you don't like something, then you need to be the change that you want to see. Then you put yourself out there and you try to make change. You advocate for change. You put yourself out there to be a representative. I mean, it's like you can't just sit and talk about things and how they should be and you're not doing anything. Because if you're not being part of the solution and just talking about things, you're part of the problem. Because we all should be involved. I don't want people making decisions for me and not give me a choice. So you need to know your power, use your voice, and take advantage of the opportunity because it is our right.
Okay, very good. What was the catalyst of change or the moment of awakening for you when you decided, hey, I am going to run for the House of Reps? For House of Representatives, District 6. District 6 is primarily Caucasian, and you're an African-American woman, and you're living there. And what occurred that caused you to make that decision?
Well, first I had to wait until my children were older because I believe in family first. Being a single mom, I had to make sure I took care of my family, but I did work as a constituent services representative for one of the former U.S. senators. So that's when I first got my foot in the door. And I kind of seen how things were run and, just how there was a need for change. Even then, being in that position, people would write and sometimes they would never even be responded to. And, I don't think that's right. And me as a person that really care about people, I wanted to help, do whatever I can to make sure people have the resources that they need and just at least respond to them so they know that you care. Listen to people and encourage them, like we just said before, to get involved.
Okay.
So that's when I decided, when my youngest graduated from high school, well, right before he graduated, it was time for me to start prepping myself to finally do what it was that I needed to do or what I wanted to do. And being out here in District 6, I know that was a long shot, but the only way you fail is by not trying.
Wow. When you said it was a long shot, what were some of the obstacles that made you think it was a long shot? And I congratulate you for trying. And I think you did a tremendous job. But what were some of the obstacles that you looked at that made you think that it was a long shot in District 6?
Well, when I look at the color of my skin and when I'm told that, and I was told that certain places I could not go, I should not go. Mm-hmm. And then this is considered a red area. So in a red area, there's really not a chance. And then I was running against a 20-year incumbent. And, certain people just stick with what they know. And I was on the Democrat ticket, and to me, it doesn't matter what ticket I'm on, what party I would be running for, because I'm here to represent all people. But they really stick with their party. So me being on the Democrat ticket in this area, it kind of did me an injustice, some would say, because some told me that I should have ran as a Republican anyways, just because of where I live, because that's people's mindset.
Do you think you needed to switch parties? I mean, could you have switched and represented genuinely the ideals of the Republican Party?
Well, for the U.S. Senate race, I wanted to run as an independent, but then we were still going as COVID. And at first I did sign up to run as an independent, but then you needed 10,000 signatures. Well, I wasn't going out to get anybody's signature because I wasn't trying to get reinfected again. Mm-hmm. And then I did want to run as a Republican, but then I had this other lady talk to me and told me, no, just stick with the Democrats and run with them and I'll support you and we'll get all these people to support you. So I followed suit and that did not happen. And one reason is if you don't dance to other people's tunes If you don't do what they want you to do, if they can't control you or feel like they can control you, like Pinocchio and Geppetto, they're not going to deal with you. But I'm not going to let you run me either. That's just not my personality or makeup.
Okay. Do you think the United States of America is going in the right direction? The parties are, the United States is totally split. Do you think we're going in the right direction?
No, I don't think we're going in the right direction at all.
Okay.
No.
What do you think we need to do differently?
To even begin to go into the right direction, we need to come together. It's stop all this fighting and this division and this hate and refocus. I have this quote: if you lost your focus, you lose your focus. Refocus by redefining your purpose. What is the purpose for America? What is it supposed to be? How are we supposed to represent? And if we can't represent because we have our own bias and own bigotry and our own agendas, people won't ever be represented. So we need to come together by having a common cause, and that is representation for all people. And it seems like they just can't get that. They're too busy fighting against one another, and it's just absurd.
That's good. How do you get people to refocus in a time like this? You have mass shootings, post-pandemic COVID. Some people say we're still in it. You have all of the turbulence that's taking place in Washington, D.C. We have a lot that's going on. How do we get people back on board to come together and to focus on the issues? How do we do that?
I think if we had some prominent leadership, that might be a start. Anybody can have the title of a leader, but they don't know how to lead. And I think that if we had, some very good sound leadership, and nobody's perfect, but that can bring people together, that can work with people that don't agree on everything, that they agree with, but you still respect one another. And you have meetings and you talk about it, you strategize, you plan, and you learn how to cooperate and collaborate together. But communication is the key. And you also got to learn how to talk to people, not talk at them, because if you talk at people and you're telling people you're going to do this, you're going to do that, the saying, it's not what you say, but how you say it. Your approach and how you talk to people can make a difference.
Okay. So when you say there's the leadership, are you speaking in terms of Biden? Are you speaking in terms of the entire Congress? Break that down for us and tell us what type of leadership are you speaking in terms of?
Many of them. Many of them. Because don't tell us one thing that you're going to do, and then you go back on your word. You lie to get people to vote for you, and you don't follow suit. Or you will represent some people on some things. You give to other countries, but then the people that are in your own backyard, in your own country, you leave them hanging. That's a problem right there. Mm-hmm. Charity begins at home. It's like, it's okay to help other people, but if we got people hurting in America, people hungry in America, you just don't give everything outside, and then we're an afterthought. And if you say that you took an oath to help, you need to help. You need to represent. You don't have your picks and chooses what you want to because this person is not affiliated with your party. So like, say, I don't know what party you represent that you're affiliated with, but if you were with X and I'm with Z because you're with X and I'm the leader and I'm with Z, I'm not going to help your people because you're not a part of my group. It's like high school clique stuff. It's like people need to become politically mature. And I don't think they get it because they're all too stuck in their own egos, and people just don't help one another these days. It's like you don't want to take somebody up with you so we can all work together. Everybody wants to be the big head honcho. You want all the glory. You want everything to be about you. And you're making a mess. And you got too much pride to even see it.
Who is this he? Which prompt? Okay, who are you speaking of?
It could be the president, Speaker of the House, all of them. Many of them. I just don't like to name names, to be a person of integrity. But there's so many that, People that watch the news know. There's a lot of corruption going on. There's a lot of people that are in office that shouldn't be. There are some that have been in for years that they should just let it go. But, that money gets real good. So, they're set for life. They're not trying to give it up. And then they're not going to do anything either. They probably feel like they made it. They arrived. So why are they going to look? We're just peons. They got what they need. They don't care if you need Medicare. They don't care if you need affordable housing. They don't care if you need child care. They don't care if you're homeless. They don't care. They got what they need. There's some that do care, but sometimes it's still a power trip. Look at me. Look what I done. I. There's no I in team. If this is a Congress, if this is a House of Representatives and everything else, it all should be for we the people. Where's our democracy? This is about us. You got elected to represent, do your job. Like General George Patton said, lead, follow, or get out the way. If you're not going to do your job, move out the way for somebody that's passionate enough to do it, to represent for a just cause.
Interesting. You laid it out there.
It's the truth. Just like how you brought up guns. And then a lot of times it's us that are blamed for having all the crime. But where are we getting the guns from? Mm-hmm. But you put this stuff in our neighborhood. You put the liquor stores on every corner. Mm-hmm. Opioids is now a problem, but it wasn't an epidemic or anything when we had people on crack and everything else. Mm-hmm. It was no big deal until they came in your neighborhood. Well, you woke up to see that it was your neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Hey, I just don't know. It's a mess. It is a mess. And I know you're talking about politics, but for the real deal, the only way we could really get some help is we trust in God and God just step in. But we have to humble ourselves to him. If my people, which are called by my name, they took prayer out of school. I think we need prayer in school. At least let the students pray that want to pray. If you even divide everybody up wherever they go for what they believe in, if we had a lot of prayer, maybe we wouldn't have so many school shootings. Who knows? But it's just awful, this day and time that we live in. People can't even go to the store without getting shot up. Kids can't go outside and play. You got human trafficking, sex trafficking. No place is safe. I don't know what to tell you.
It's sad, but it's very true, and it resonates as true. Do you think that the Democratic Party has the answer? Do you think the Republican Party has the answer? What are your thoughts?
I think that both parties got issues because they're so full of hate that they just victimize, and like I said, they just go back and forth with each other. This party's dogging this party out. This party's dogging this party out. But if you want to be truthful, no one probably believes in everything that they say they believe in. You're just stuck with the party, but you don't even believe everything in the party yourself. Why would you vote against something that is for you and your loved ones? Mm-hmm. You could say Democrat all day long. You can say Republican all day long. But if none of us are being representative, then we're all getting played. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of senseless to me. That's why at the end, on this last campaign, I'm like, you know what? I represent all people. Some people would send me messages. Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Because they said they couldn't tell from my website because I didn't have it on there. I didn't want it on there. What I said was all people. All people meant all people. I was just on the ticket for Democrat. But I myself, if I say I'm going to represent all people, that's what I meant. I don't want to be bound by no party. Oh, you're a Democrat, so you can't talk to a Republican. There's still human beings. That's what a problem is. One of the problems is we can't talk to each other because you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Stop being so childish. Just talk and represent. It's just too much division. It's way too much. And it shouldn't be that way. Somebody needs to grow up and be politically mature. And, some people that are in office, you don't have to have all these degrees and everything. You just really need common sense. But if some people never been taught morals, morality, character counts. So if you lack integrity, you lack trustworthiness, you lack accountability. I already say that. If you lack those things, you're not the right person to be in leadership.
If you would have won, let's take it one step at a time. If you would have won the seat in the United States House of Representatives, District 6, what would you have brought to the table? What would you have done differently?
I would have had town meetings, because the representative that's in place now, he hasn't had one since he got in. And like I said, he's been in over 20 years. There's people in the rural area. It's mostly rural, but then you have the suburbs and then you have the city. You make sure that you have meetings with everybody. And because, some have the same needs, but some have some other different needs. Like the rural area, they need a lot of infrastructure. They need broadband. They need things like that for their everyday living. The city needs, what they need. In the suburban area, they need what they need, or they want what they want. But you need to make sure you represent everybody. There's something for everybody. So I would try to bring everybody together, meet with them on a regular basis, have some subcommittees and everything else, just to make sure that nobody is left behind. And I also would encourage everyone to be involved, because again, it's know your power. This is your district. You need to take ownership in your district. You can't expect for the candidate or the elected official to do everything for you. There's some things that you need to do too. Take ownership in your community.
Okay, very good. Now, if you would have been elected as a U.S. Senator, what would you have done differently?
I still would have connected with local officials, elected officials. I can work with people. I don't have a problem with that. As long as it's for a common cause, I work with people, make sure I communicate and get what we need. Education needs to be better. So, that would be one thing for sure. I'd make sure that we have education. We'd have the healthcare, the benefits that we need. Our essential needs, the things that we need to live and, thrive instead of just surviving. Those would be my number one factors that I would go after, is to make sure that we had what we need. Like I said, everybody has different things and prioritize differently, but still to make sure that there are people in place to help and have resources available, training available, like urban initiatives, financial literacy, jobs, growth and economic development. We could create jobs. We can get the homeless people off the street. There's so many torn down buildings, I'm sure, in St. Louis and in Kansas City. Why can't we take some of that money and rehabilitate those places and, make those be shelters that would create jobs for people and help people get off the street and, get them going. You don't have, just because you're down doesn't mean you have to stay down. You help people up, even veterans. I don't know all the situations that all vets have, but, they serve this country. They shouldn't have to want for nothing. They shouldn't be at the bottom of the list and they're writing Congress and they're not getting a response. People in the prisons, they need to be treated right too. Just because they're in a prison, that doesn't mean that you treat them less than a human being. You just don't, that's not right. You treat people how you want to be treated. Love thy neighbor as thyself. If a person is a human being, no matter their lifestyle or how they live, you still respect them, treat them with dignity and respect. And we have too much recidivism. So we need better programs to keep people out of prison that are going in. Our criminal justice reform, our just like so much stuff. And for the officers, the police, the corrupt officers, they need to be gone. You don't need to stay on the force and you're just killing people and you're using your badge as a weapon. I mean, you're using your badge as the authority to kill. You need to go. And that system needs to be in place where they can't just go to another agency, another police force and just get right back in and do the same thing again. And then when they stop giving them just slap on the wrist, make them take classes and evaluate them every 3 months, evaluate their psyche when they're in different situations, because you don't need to be on the street. If you have that much hate in you, that's not good.
You know, all of those ideals sound really good, you know. And as I have a friend that said to me, it looks good on paper. Well, how do we implement it and get a piece of get a change started, to get a piece of the pie, to get a change really implemented in Washington, D.C. So when
it takes people to trust you. People got to trust you. If they trust you and they listen and they know that they believe in you, they know that you're real, they will work with you. They will help you, but they got to be able to trust you and just know that you're not another that will sit up there and say all this stuff. But once you get there, you get what you need and then just drop the ball and leave everybody hanging. This has to be a joint first. It's like a dry match with wood, how it catches on fire. If one person catches on fire and everybody sees that there's some change and they see growth, that it has the opportunity to do that, and people are tired, when people are tired of being sick of being tired and they trust you, I think they will work with you. But one thing you have to do is be able to pull away from your cliques and your groups, your naysayers. If you don't, like, well, we've always done it this way. But if the way that you're doing it hasn't been working and you see somebody over here, then you need to take that chance and work with them to make it. So it's not just on paper, but you can make change. Talk is cheap. And when we live in a show me state, so it can be done and we can do it, but we have to join our forces together. One person can't do it alone. It takes everybody.
Do you think these new senators and these new freshman congressmen and women, when they go to the House and they go to the Senate, you hear such ideals and you hear such powerful, I'm going to call it rhetoric. You hear such powerful rhetoric when people are on the campaign trail. But then once people are elected, you see very little change. Now, I will, and I want you to speak to this, I will give it up for Cori Bush. I think she's making a difference. That's my opinion. She's directed billions of dollars, millions, at least $1 billion or close to $1 billion to the state of Missouri. I think she's making a change. Why do we hear so much rhetoric, but we don't see the change? Can you just your opinion on that?
Well, a lot of times people will keep you out of what's going on. I mean, there could be new people that are doing wonders, but if you're not their pick for the media and everything else, they're never going to highlight what you're doing. It won't be shown. They won't. You could do everything in your power and have stuff being done, but you won't never get the highlights. You won't get the credit. And it's not about getting the credit, but you should be able to see the fruit. But some stuff is not highlighted because the media doesn't want everything to be seen. Sometimes the media only wants to show the negative, or they only show who they want you to see. Just like when I ran for Congress and I won the primary, they weren't highlighting me because I live in District 6 and I wasn't the choice that they would want. Right. They left me out. They act like I was invisible. But I know who I am and I know whose I am. So, as long as you're confident in who you are, I'm an evangelist first before any of this other stuff. So if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful what you just stated, but it's also wonderful that you won the primary. Tell us about your win. And that was a historical moment when you won the primary, and it wasn't publicized like it should have been.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. So tell us about your primary win.
Well, while I was on that campaign trail, I ended up with COVID in the hospital. I didn't know what was going to happen because I almost lost my life. But when I got out the hospital and slowly recovered, I was doing Zoom meetings. Everything was basically virtual. And then by that June, I was able to go out a little bit. And so I started meeting and greeting with people, and people listen to you. I was singing and talking to the people. I'm not the best singer in the world, but people want hope. They want change. They will listen to you. If I tell them to wave their hands, they were waving their hands. Some people really want change and they're hungry for it. And, I had one opponent that told me, you'll never win. You should just drop out, because he was raising all this money. And I didn't hardly raise any money at all. But when it came to that primary day, let me tell you, people were like, oh, no, you have to have all this money. I won with 88 cents left in my Congress checking account with only less than $1,100.
How
So
much money did you say you had? Could you say that again?
88 cents. I still laugh at that to this day. I didn't even have enough to buy yard signs or anything. But when I won the primary, then for the general, people start giving money. So I was able to buy my yard signs because I'm not going to spend my money on something that can help represent you. If you don't want to be a part, I'm not going broke for you. So you be a part of that change that you want to see, give. And I wasn't out really asking people for money because we were in a pandemic. Some people just didn't have to give at all. So I didn't want to do that. If my link was there, if you wanted to give, I let you know it was there, $1, whatever you want to give, that was fine. I was grateful, appreciative for whatever they gave. But yes, I had 88 cents in my Congress checking account. Wow. And I said, to God be the glory, because I know it was a miracle. And my opponent that did all the talking, and I had talked to him like the day before, and he was like, yeah, I already took off of work because I have so much to do. He already knew he had won. And when he found out I won, he was just done. Because what he told me was, you're never going to win anyways. He said, because you ask people, what do they want? You're supposed to go in there and tell them what you want. And I was like, and that's exactly what his problem is and why he's not going to win. Because people, they want to talk to you, but they want to talk and they want you to listen. And some people want to feel like they're a part of, and they want to help. But he wasn't receiving that. But when you just tell people all the time what they're going to do, that doesn't work for everybody. But when you listen, remember, I studied this too, public policy and administration, but it's also just a part of who I am. I listen to people and I'm a natural nurturer. So I try to make sure that I help people and try to see things through the best I can. If I can't do something, I'll try to find you a resource. But yeah, 88 cents in my Congress checking account. And then for this U.S. Senate race, I raised, I think it was less than $10,000. Or so. It might have been 11,000. But again, I didn't win, but my win doesn't have to look like anybody else's win because I still win. But I was in the top 5 out of 11 candidates. And I know the others raise more money than me, but people see something in me. It must be the God in me, and I let my light shine, that they will put their trust to vote for me because they know that I'm real. I'm authentic. And I dare to be different. I'm just me. And I'm not cocky. Some people will think because you have a PhD, you're cocky. I'm not cocky at all. I love people and I want to help people, but you need to be respectful and you need to be kind, and you're not going to run me and tell me what I'm going to do. And I had those ones that told me what I need to put on my platform and, telling me what I should say. Well, my response was, you run for office, put your name on the ballot, and then you can do whatever you want for your campaign. But this is mine. And yeah, I had a low dollar amount, but I'm rich in spirit. But truly, I had a heart to serve. I'm a public servant. And, I told you before, I don't even like the word politician because politicians, they don't have such the good reputation. So I'd rather be called a public servant because I want to serve. I want to help. I want to help people. I don't want to see people just poor, destitute, distraught, or just can't get what they need. That's not right. And they say this is America the Beautiful. We missed out on something because it sure ain't been beautiful.
Now, when you ran for U.S. Senate, you ran against a powerhouse, a billionaire. Would that be safe to say you ran against?
Yeah, it was a billionaire. Okay. She got in at the last minute on filing day. He just came out of nowhere.
Okay. So you ran against a powerhouse.
Yeah. Well, her money and her name was the powerhouse.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. I totally agree with that analysis. Totally agree with it.
Yeah. Name recognition and her bank account because she wasn't campaigning.
How do you think what do you think about implementing change when you see these multi-millionaires and billionaires getting into the game, and it seems like the needs of the people are being lost? You saw it with Trump. What are your thoughts about the mega millionaires and billionaires running for office, and it appears like the needs of the people are being lost in poverty and so forth?
Well, just like the one that just won the primary, she's a billionaire. And when we were doing our candidate forums, when she was asked about Medicare for all or Medicare, she said no. And I couldn't believe it, and we were on a Zoom, and my other opponents, they couldn't believe it. But this is who most of Missouri wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, she just said no for the stuff that you said that you want, that's important to you and your family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I go back to politically mature. You're voting against yourself. You don't care if you're in poverty or if your neighbor's in poverty, because this woman has this rich name and she has all this money.
Okay.
They vote against themselves. And they have the money and they feel like they can do whatever they want to. They can just buy the whole race.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like I'm sure they feel like they probably already won, because that's why they don't have to campaign or do anything. It's like you bought your seat. And then when you have people that should be supporting you, or at least some of the other candidates, and if they don't, they just go with the woman or the man that has all the money. It's like their mind, to me, is stuck in slavery. Their mind is enslaved. You still ain't free. You're still in bondage and don't know it. There's 3 stages of being lost. Lost, don't know it. Lost, can't help it. And lost and don't care.
Wow. But let me do a disclaimer. Legal Views does not represent the views of any religious organizations, any law firms or organization. The views that are expressed on this platform represent the views and ideologies of the guests and the views of the show. And we're not connected to any particular organization, law firm, or religious organization. Okay. I think that's interesting. Now, I don't know the future. I don't know if this person's going to do a great job or if they're going to do a bad job. I have no clue. All I know is that we need change.
Most definitely.
And one of the things that I see ticking up again is poverty. And I want you to give some information on poverty and some of the work that you have done with your public policy studies to combat poverty in some of the most challenging areas like Los Angeles, California, and Kansas City and different things. I think that's very fascinating. But one of the things that I see that's ticking up all over again is poverty. And it's not coming in the room very loud, but it's a subtle approach, and it's getting closer and closer to that door. And I want people to know about services and service delivery plans, that they can get the help that they need so that they can come out of poverty. Would you share with our viewers discuss some of the work that you have done to fight poverty and homelessness?
Well, I partnered with Fund Peace and Black Church PAC. And we had all these workshops and seminars where people in different communities could get together to help their communities. Now, I don't know if everything always followed through or not, but urban initiatives, it is needed. Like I mentioned, we need the financial literacy. We need programs for affordable housing, childcare. And I have worked for the local investment commission. It was Link, where I started up a pre-K program for 68 children for before and after school. So parents can go ahead and go to work, and children also get their education, and they also can get a little snack or a meal. We made sure they'd have something on Friday to go home with a backpack, because, some might not have anything to eat. I have partnered, and also as a professor, I had my own clothing store. It was called the Just For Me Free Clothing Closet, to give people clothes, so they can have them for every day, or also to go on interviews to be able to get a job, and then some of the churches, and I know we're not talking about church, but they have different initiatives and programs that help with the resources. And there's also social services. So you just have to be able to connect people to the areas and just help them along the way. But there is resources out there. I'm with the NAACP. I'm with other organizations, with the Business and Professional Women Federation. We give scholarships sometimes for people for startup loans for their own businesses. If we just prepare people to become entrepreneurs and give them resources to start their own businesses and in their own communities too. That would help a whole lot. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, because there are resources. Some people just don't follow through. We can't just do everything for everybody. No, you got to do your part too. You can't just hand stuff over to people. You got to take responsibility for yourself. At least try. And you get some good people that will mentor you and help you along the way. Am I my sister's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper? We can help one another. But again, they have to want it. There's GED programs, there are scholarships for people that want to go back to school that haven't been in for a while. Those resources, they are there, but we need people to apply for it and then get involved. I'm sharing a flyer now in the Kansas City area for the HBCU tour. Young people can go tour and see what HBC college they want to go to.
That's great. That's really great.
Yes, and then they have career exploration and college prep, and get students ready for their ACT tests and SAT tests. So you prep them so they know what to expect, so they can be successful. And we really need to pour into our youth, because they are our future. Absolutely. And so if we have more programs and other things like that, like I said, there's something for everybody. But if we all work together and we network and we share, we care, we help, it's just like a whole village. And it shouldn't matter what color you are, where you come from, what your lifestyle is. If you're a human being, you deserve, your human rights and to be treated right. And you need your basic living essentials. It's about to be wintertime. People need to know about LIHEAP. And I think that LIHEAP, sometimes from what I hear from other people, they tell them that they make too much money when they don't make enough money. But it's cold. It's getting ready to be cold. No one should have to be without heat or without water. If people are hungry, they change the name of the program to SNAP. They need to lift up some of that guidelines that they have, telling people that they make too much money. Give people some food. Let them eat. And I know some of the churches and other community organizations are doing the best they can to keep up with the food shelf. But no one should be hungry.
I agree. You made a comment. You said, well, I know we're not talking about church. You're more than welcome to share any church-based national programs, national information. And just if I can for a moment, I would like to digress just quickly and say that this is National Suicide Month, National Suicide Awareness Month. And if you are facing any type of a trauma and you are struggling to live, please call the suicide hotline. If you are a victim of domestic violence and you don't know where to go and where to turn, please look at the numbers that are scrolling across the screen and write the number down and make those calls. We do not want you to die. We do not want you to take your life. Call the National Suicide Hotline, and we're going to be making this announcement during our shows for the month of September for Suicide Awareness Month. God has a plan for you, and you can live. Yeah. Back to you, Dr. Ross.
Amen. That's good that you just made that announcement, because the other day on Instagram, there was this young lady, Raven Jackson, that did all the exercises and all that. I don't know if you know who she is or not, but I guess she wrote a letter to her boyfriend and he posted it. Yes, after she went and jumped off the bridge. And, this has been happening a lot to our young people. It seemed like since the pandemic, we started hearing more about it with the Miss Americas and all that. And I even had a loved one close to me attempt suicide this year. The devil had a plan to take her out, but God had a plan to keep her in. Because if it's not your time to go, you're not going to go.
Right. And I'm hearing people say these phrases, nowadays, these phrases people are saying, be true to yourself and life is overrated. I'm just hearing a lot of different phrases and so forth. And I think people don't realize that it's really impossible to be true to yourself. You need God somewhere in there to give you the ultimate direction that you need to go in. And you can get overwhelmed trying to direct your life and live up to your own truths. I think the truth that you need to live towards is God's truth. And I think people are getting overwhelmed in this life and trying to work through it and so forth. What are your thoughts?
It is very hard. And I know sometimes I use the words, I'm true to myself, but when I say I'm being true to myself, I'm being true to me, because I know that I'm trying to live the best I can to let God lead my life. Because I live off of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not into thy understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he's going to direct my path. So my truth to myself is trusting him, allowing him to be the head of my life. Now, when I put me in the way, that's when I cause problems for myself. So it's best to let God be the head of your life and let him order your steps, because if you allow God to do that, he's not going to do you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to do you wrong. God can do anything but fail.
Mm-hmm.
So people do use terms loosely, and sometimes they don't even know what they're saying. They just say it because they hear other people say it.
Yes.
And then some are trying to figure it out, and some it's a cry for help. And if we are prayerful enough and we can discern when someone else is going through, we might can catch that soul before something bad happens.
Okay. Well, we are almost out of time. You have been tuned in to Legal Views with attorney Sheila R. Stuart. And we have had a wonderful guest with us on today, Dr. Gena Ross. Dr. Gena Ross is a great woman of God, and she is also a professor and politician. She does not like the word politician, so we would say public servant, but she ran for the U.S. House of Representatives and the United States Senate. She did a remarkable job. She did it by faith. She had very little money, but she made a great impression. And we appreciate you for what you did. You made a difference. You may not feel like you made a difference. You may not look like you made a difference, but you made a tremendous difference. Before we wrap up this segment, I would like for you to have the last statement and to share whatever it is that you would like to share.
Well, I just thank you again for this opportunity. And my journey running for U.S. Senate and running for U.S. Congress, it's also a learning experience. And I believe God told me to run just so I could show people that you can keep your integrity. You can keep, yourself in good graces by not acting a fool if you just allow him to lead you. Because it's not all about fame, fortune, power, money. That's not why I ran. I ran genuinely to make help. But in this, I just hope that if someone else wants to run, that they run. And I hope and pray that they have the support that they need and not feel the candidate suppression that I felt, because it is real. But I never got down or out about it because I knew what my mission was. And I'm writing a book. I'm almost finished. And I got a little piece of the Congress in it, a little bit of the Senate. And I had got COVID again during this Senate time too. I said, COVID likes me too much. So I was pretty much done. One thing I forgot to mention, out on the campaign trail in Warsaw, Missouri, when I went to this event. So as soon as I had pulled up and I got out the car, I was kind of looking, and this man came right up to me, this older white man. He said, "You're pretty darn bold to be here." And I looked at him, I had my mask on, but you could read people's eyes. So like, okay.
What did he mean you were bold to be here? What is he speaking in terms of?
Went to Warsaw, and actually it was a Republican event. Well, I was invited. I didn't know what it was. I just went. And, I just went. And in that area too. So I said, I was invited and I'm here to represent all people. So it doesn't matter to me. And I gave him that tone, like, okay. And then my other opponent, she was a sister, and she asked, where do Black people hang out at in that area? Now, she was told the last Black person that hung out there was on that tree over there. And when she came back and told me, and the person that was riding with me, we all left because it was still light out, but our phones didn't work. In a lot of those areas, your phone does not work, broadband, no signal or nothing. So you weren't going to find me on a tree out there. So I left, she left too. So a lot of places, it really wasn't safe. So I took the Lord along with me everywhere I go, plus a little grace and mercy. But you have to be very careful when you go out there like that, because you don't know what you're going to run up against. And people these days, they're nuts. So
that's a powerful last word. I mean, that's serious.
Yeah, I mean, and they literally look at, and in this other place, these cars kept riding by, rearing up the engine, and a lot of times you would see those little Confederate flags. But you just I just kept my composure because I'm not gonna let you feel like you can intimidate me by that. And then one time there was a statement made about me going to another place, and I told them, I said, well, you know what? On my mother's side, my great great grandfather was a white slave owner. I said, so you might be my relative. We might be cousins. You should have seen the faces though. And I was like, you know what? Y'all talk about color, but we all use the bathroom the same way. You need a heart to pump. You need air to breathe. You need eyes to see. They shut up and left me alone because I don't understand. You don't like someone that looks like me, but you laying out in the sun trying to get my color. So, that gives them something to think about when you just bring it to them like that. It's not all professional and all that, but sometimes you just got to drop a bomb to make people think. Because sometimes they're not aware of what they're even saying and how ignorant that they sound to you. But hey.
Yeah, that's interesting that you were subject to that type of racial oppression. Trying to make a difference down in those southern parts. That's not good.
And I love the Lord. I love him. But you try to fight or do something to me, I'm gonna fight you back. I ain't know what I was gonna fight.
Okay, we'll end on that. Thank you, don't leave, Dr. Ross. Thank you for tuning in to Legal Views, and we will be back on September 24th with another exciting guest that will share valuable information with you. Thank you for being with us. Have a wonderful and blessed evening.
Laughter is good. Thank you.